Hello. Trying to get my iPad to sit there. You guys can see. Alright, so most of you have probably watched the video I posted a few days ago. What was that? Probably on Tuesday or Wednesday. And this video will go up maybe Thursday or Friday. Still the same crazy background. I'm at my parents' house in San Diego. And the viewer mail, should I call it that? Viewer mail? I feel like David Letterman. That I answered before from David. Thank you, David, for asking me those questions. That was more of an FAQ almost. I've answered those kind of questions a lot of times. Never hurts to go over it again, though. This one is a little bit more serious. It's from a JET applicant from Ireland. And he already had his interview, so he's just waiting to find out if he got in for the 2013 intake in July and August of this year. He's been interested in, as he starts to get more familiar with Japan and learn about Japan, and he's been listening to Japanese news. And I encourage you guys, go to NHK World, go to JapanTimes.com. Some of them are more reputable than others, but start to read a little bit about what's going on in Japan, what concerns people in Japan. It'll make you much better conversationalists at some of your working parties with your colleagues, etc. If you can talk about things in Japan maybe as well as things in your home country, which of course you're going to ask you lots of questions about. But anyway, he said that he asked me some specific questions here. It's a little bit more of a serious topic, so I went ahead and made the second video. And again, I'm going to try and get it done here for my iPad. We'll upload it automatically if it's under 10 minutes, so let's go. This is him asking the question. Based on your experiences in Shimane, would you say that peer pressure, bullying, tends to have a more severe effect on junior high school students than academic pressure, or is it the other way around? Well, that's a good question. I don't know how much I'm qualified to answer this. Even though I was in a junior high school, the same junior high school, for 5 years in a row, with an additional junior high school in year 4 and 5, I'm not an accredited counselor. I never studied child psychology. Yeah, it's hard to say. I didn't see all that much bullying. I saw bits of it. And we had a separate room at my main junior high school where kids could come and go to school completely separate from the rest of the student body. They did no classes. It was almost like homeschooling. They had a dedicated teacher who stayed with them. They would sometimes come out for PE or, music or something, but most of it, their English, their math, their science was all in this one little room, and there was only like 4 or 5 of them. And at first I thought it was like remedial, like they needed help, because Japanese people, when you go and you become a JET, they won't necessarily tell you everything. And it's hard sometimes to find the right English for what they want to say. But over time I figured out that these aren't kids that needed like really special help. We actually have special needs classes for the kids who maybe have a learning disability, and of course some of them that have physical disabilities. But these were kids who would probably otherwise not come to school. They would stay at home, and there is a term for it, and I apologize, I forget it. I think it's something like hikikomori or something, but someone will know it and put it down in the comments. And these are kids that withdraw, and for one reason or another won't go to school. But they did. They came to school. They participated in a limited way, and so we had that kind of a solution to it at my junior high school. And I don't know if it was from previous bullying or what made them feel like they needed to be in that environment as opposed to a regular homeroom environment with 35 other students. There is academic pressure, but it's not like it is in America. There's no big GPA thing. There's no like, oh, you got to get A's and stuff. There's pressure to get into high school, and then when you're a high school student, there's pressure to get into college. And then the pressure really evens off. Now I'm teaching at a university, and I can tell you there's not a whole lot of pressure at university other than to get a job. But that really doesn't, that has nothing to do with how well necessarily you're doing at university. But that's a subject for a whole other thing. So yeah, and I think some of the kids, you know, they don't give up, but they know they won't get into the top academic high school in their city or something. And then there's maybe the second place school, and then there's 3 or 4 other high schools. Maybe one is better at, fishing and farming and rural things. Maybe one is more like a technical trade, and maybe one is just sort of like, where everybody else goes. And they know they're going to go to one of those schools, and they can kind of, you kind of get in no matter what. So they stop trying. They don't even, I've had kids come up to me, like, and I'd be like, oh, what high school are you going to? Oh, I probably will all go to, X school. And I'd be like, oh, why don't you try for, Y school? And they'd be like, oh, I can't even take the test for that school. Moody. It's impossible. And, I'm like, oh, man, how can you be so defeatist? You got to try. I don't think, and he goes on, Aaron asked me, have you ever worked with a student that appeared to be under such an amount of pressure that you worried about his or her well-being? Personally, no. I've certainly known students who I felt were stretched. I tutored a girl privately in English, her and her brother, and she was in the brass band, had piano lessons every week, did ballet, full school load, trying to have, be a teenager and have a social life in junior high and stuff. So it's like, wow, it's like, where does she even have time to, her parents owned a sushi restaurant, she helped out at the restaurant. I mean, she was incredible. But I've seen, her name is Karin, I've seen her many times since I stopped, interacting with her in 9th grade. And she just graduated high school, and I'm friends with her on Facebook, and she's going off to college, and she's a wonderful, wonderful person. So, some people thrive in that environment, and some people wither. And but no, I haven't really had that problem where I've been worried about a student in that sense. Let's see, what's his next question? Yeah, and so he asked, are there staff on hand to support these people? Yes, limited. It's not like in American junior high and high school. I think there's a dedicated school counselor always on campus. At my junior high school, they would come to campus twice a week. Like Tuesdays and Fridays were school counselor day, and they would be available to talk to students, help students, counsel students. We never fortunately had an incident like, the suicide. There have been 2 really big suicides recently. One where a high school kid, was slapped a bunch of times by his coach and killed himself, but he was like 17. And another where a young boy jumped in front of a train. He was only like in 6th grade. He was probably 11 or 12. And because his school was moving and he didn't want to go to the new school, and this was his protest. But the cultural attitude towards suicide and the way that it's seen as a solution to a problem or an okay way to resolve a situation has much more to do with that happening than I think, school pressure or academic pressure or even bullying sometimes. And that's got to change culturally, the attitude towards suicide in Japan. But that again, I mean, we could talk, that's a whole subject for a whole nother vlog. And I think the Inaka probably is a bit more relaxed. I think the kids are under less social pressure in a way. They're just not as cool as maybe kids who grow up in Osaka or Tokyo or something and have access to all the vices that, teenagers can have access to. My kids were very country mice. They were studious and well-behaved and polite for the most part, and I just loved them to death. And I would have, hate to see one of them in pain like that, and luckily I really never did. Alright, so I think that's about the answers to Aaron's questions. I'm going to get this in under 10 minutes. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I appreciate it. I'm going to try to make some more vlogs here in America. If you have suggestions about what you want to see while I'm here, feel free to leave them in the comments. And I'm filming lots of stuff to show my students, and I'll probably share that with y'all in some way too. Oh, excuse me. Oh, I'm cough. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you're having a good spring vacation if it's happening for you, and I'll see you soon. Bye.